What if I told you that behind Johnny Depp's charm, his wild spirit, and his decades of Hollywood success, there are fears so personal, so haunting, and so deeply human that they could just as easily belong to you? Strange thought, isn't it? We think of Johnny as this fearless, larger-than-life character. We've seen him command the seas as Captain Jack Sparrow, swing his scissor hands with quiet sadness as Edward, and march through Wonderland as the Mad Hatter. He's the guy who always seems in control of the strange, the bizarre, the unexplainable. But when the lights go down, when the cameras stop rolling, when the crowd disappears, Johnny Depp has fears that won't leave him alone. And here's the thing. These fears are not just about him. They tell us something about what it means to be human. Because at the end of the day, Johnny isn't only a movie star, he's a man who wrestles with the same shadows the rest of us do. The difference? His shadows are magnified by fame, amplified by a life spent in the public eye. And today we're going to walk through them one by one. We'll see what scares Johnny the most, and why at least one of those fears might already be sitting quietly in your own life. The first one might make you laugh, but it's very real to him. Johnny Depp has always admitted that clowns make him uneasy. Yes, clowns. Painted smiles, big shoes, squeaky noses. Sounds harmless, right? But think about it. A clown is a person hiding behind makeup, hiding their real expression under layers of color. The laugh is exaggerated, the movements are over the top, and the whole performance is designed to keep you from seeing who they really are underneath. For Johnny, that's not funny, it's disturbing. He said before that it unsettles him because you can't tell if that smile is real or fake, if that cheerful face is hiding something darker. And honestly, can you blame him? If you've ever been near a clown at a party, you know the feeling. Your brain says it's harmless, just a costume, just makeup. But your gut says something isn't right. And in that sense, Johnny's not alone at all. There's even a name for it, coulrophobia. Millions of people share that same uneasy reaction. But when you think about Johnny's life, you realize it goes deeper than a simple phobia. For him, clowns represent the fear of masks, of deception, of people not being who they appear to be. And that theme, what's real, what's fake, will come up again and again in his life. Because another fear Johnny has talked about is far more complicated. It's the fear of losing himself. And when you look at his career, this fear makes perfect sense. Johnny Depp has spent decades becoming other people. He doesn't just play a character, he disappears into them. Captain Jack Sparrow wasn't just a role, it was a creation so alive that fans sometimes forgot there was an actor behind it. Edward Scissorhands wasn't just makeup and costume, it was Johnny pouring his own sadness into a lonely outcast. Even the Mad Hatter felt like something only Depp could dream up. But here's the question he's asked himself over and over. If you spend your whole life being someone else, what happens to the real you? Where do you go when the role ends and the cameras stop? He's admitted in interviews that he worries sometimes that the line between himself and his characters gets blurry. And again, this sounds like a Hollywood problem, but is it really that far from your own life? Think about it. Don't we all play roles? At work, we put on a professional face. With friends, we might act more confident than we feel. With family, we become caretakers, protectors, or jokers. Every day, we adjust ourselves to fit what others expect. And sometimes, just like Johnny, we wonder, if I strip away all those roles, who am I really? That's his fear, and it's ours too. Losing yourself in the expectations of others until one day, you don't even recognize the person in the mirror, and then comes the fear most people don't expect from someone like Johnny Depp. The fear of financial collapse. After all, how can someone who's made hundreds of millions of dollars worry about money? But if you followed his life, you know why. Johnny has faced lawsuits, massive debts, and endless headlines about his spending. Stories of him buying mansions, islands, and spending staggering amounts on wine became tabloid legends. People laughed at the numbers. $30,000 a month on wine. But for Johnny, it was no laughing matter. The fear of losing everything became very real. Imagine being at the top of the world, surrounded by wealth, luxury, fame, and still waking up in the middle of the night panicking about what happens if it all slips away. That's not just Hollywood. That's human. Because no matter how big or small your paycheck is, the fear of losing stability is universal. We all know that quiet anxiety when bills pile up, when work feels uncertain, when we wonder if the safety net will hold. For Johnny, it played out on a massive stage, but underneath, it's the same fear many of us live with. What happens if it all disappears? But if you ask Johnny what his greatest fear really is, he won't tell you clowns or money, or even losing himself. He'll tell you something much closer to his heart. His biggest fear is failing as a father. For all the films, all the music, all the spotlight, nothing matters to him more than his kids. Lily Rose and Jack aren't just his children. They're his anchor. He said before that his greatest nightmare isn't about fading from Hollywood. It's about disappointing them. It's about not being enough for the people he loves most. And here, again, Johnny steps out of the celebrity bubble and becomes just another parent. Because if you've ever raised a child or even cared for someone deeply, you know that fear. The constant worry that you'll make a mistake, that you'll let them down, that one day they'll look at you with disappointment instead of love. That fear outweighs any professional failure, any financial loss, any public scandal. And it's the one fear Johnny has carried most heavily. Now here's where it all comes together. Psychologists say fears like these are never random. They're threads of the same fabric. For Johnny, clowns, identity, money, parenthood, they're all connected by one central theme: the fear of losing control. Think about it. A clown hides who they really are, loss of truth. A role makes you forget yourself, loss of identity. Money slipping away, loss of stability. Failing your kids, loss of love. All of them are variations of the same haunting thought. What if I lose the things that matter most and I can't stop it? And then there's the one fear that rises above all the others. The one Johnny has mentioned in quieter moments. The one that doesn't belong to just him, but to all of us. The fear of time running out. Johnny has spoken before about life feeling like sand slipping through an hourglass. And if you've ever stared at an hourglass, you know how hypnotic it is. The way the grains fall, one by one, unstoppable, silent, irreversible. No matter what you do, you can't slow it down. You can't scoop the grains back to the top. They just fall. And that's how Johnny has described life. You can be rich, famous, loved, admired, standing on the highest stage in the world, but time is the one thing you can never buy. No amount of success, no number of awards, no adoring crowds can purchase even one extra second. And when you begin to notice how quickly it passes, when you truly let yourself feel it, it changes you forever. Johnny has admitted that when he's with his children, he feels it more than ever. He can't stop thinking about how fast they've grown. One day, they're toddlers climbing into his lap, asking for bedtime stories. The next, they're teenagers carving out their own lives, drifting a little farther from his orbit each year. And as any parent knows, it feels like it all happens in the blink of an eye. He once said that he looks back and wonders where the years went, the birthdays that came and went, the little moments he thought would last forever, but somehow didn't. And that thought, that realization, haunts him, because time doesn't announce itself. It doesn't tap you on the shoulder and say, "Hey, this is the last time your child will ask you to read to them." It doesn't whisper in your ear, "This is the final time you'll be able to carry them on your shoulders." Time just slips by, quietly, grain by grain, while we're too busy living to notice. And then one day, you look up and realize an entire decade has vanished. That's what Johnny has tried to put into words. The strange sadness of watching the clock move too fast, of realizing you don't get a second chance at these small, fleeting moments. And it's not just about his children. When Johnny looks back on his decades in Hollywood, he doesn't just see the movies he made or the characters he played. He sees the years, the calendar pages that flipped by without mercy. He remembers the long nights on set, the endless hours in makeup chairs, the tours, the press conferences, the whirlwind of celebrity. And while fans saw a career filled with magic and brilliance, Johnny sometimes sees what it cost. The roles were unforgettable, yes. The success undeniable. But hidden in the shadows of that success were the years that slipped away. The birthdays missed. The quiet mornings he never had. The time he'll never get back. That realization changes a person. Because time is the one fear that doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter if you're Johnny Depp or a stranger walking down the street. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, famous or unknown. The clock ticks for everyone. And sooner or later we all feel it. That pull, that ache, that haunting awareness that no matter what we do, time keeps moving forward, never backward. Johnny once described it like chasing a train you can never catch. You run and you run, but the train just keeps pulling farther ahead. And that image sticks because it's exactly how time feels. You want to slow it down, to hold on to it, but the harder you chase, the faster it seems to move. And eventually you realize the only thing you can do is stop chasing and simply take in the ride you're on. But here's the part that makes Johnny's reflection so relatable. Think about your own life. How often have you looked back at photos and felt that punch in your chest? The picture of your kids when they were small. The version of yourself 10 years younger, smiling at a moment you barely remember. The group of friends who don't see each other anymore. We all have those reminders. And every time we see them, we're struck by the same haunting thought. Where did the time go? That's not just Johnny's fear. It's all of ours. And yet, despite knowing how precious it is, we waste so much of it. Johnny has spoken about this too. The way people, himself included, sometimes spend years chasing things that don't matter. The endless pursuit of money, the pressure to maintain fame, the constant grind of keeping up appearances. He's admitted that, in hindsight, some of those things feel hollow, because while he was chasing them, the hourglass kept draining. And now, standing on the other side, he realizes that the things that seemed urgent at the time weren't nearly as important as the moments that slipped away. It's ironic, isn't it? The things we rush toward often end up being the least meaningful, while the things we overlook, the late-night talks, the shared laughter, the quiet mornings, are the ones that haunt us when they're gone. Johnny has tried to capture that in his words, reminding people that the real currency of life isn't money or fame, it's time. And once it's spent, you never get a refund. There's something deeply moving about hearing that from someone like him. Because on the surface, you'd think Johnny Depp had everything. The career, the wealth, the recognition, the lifestyle most people can only dream about. But even he admits that the one thing he cannot control, the one thing that scares him the most, is time. And that's the part that makes him human. It's the great equalizer. It doesn't care who you are. It just keeps slipping. And maybe that's why Johnny's fear resonates so deeply. Because when you strip away all the layers, when you peel back the fame and the roles and the fortune, you're left with a man looking at the same hourglass you are, watching the grains fall, wondering if he made the most of them, wondering how many are left, wondering how fast they'll fall when he isn't paying attention. Think about it. When was the last time you sat still and noticed the clock? Not just glanced at it to see if you were late, but really noticed it. Really felt the passing of time. For most of us, it's too uncomfortable. We distract ourselves with phones, with work, with noise, because silence reminds us of the truth, that life is short, and it's getting shorter every day. Johnny has said that when he lets himself sit in that silence, when he thinks about the years gone by, it unsettles him. It scares him more than any role, more than any courtroom battle, more than any headline. Because it's the one fear he knows he can't conquer. And here's the twist. That fear, as heavy as it is also what gives life meaning. Johnny has said that it's only when you feel the weight of time slipping that you begin to truly value the moments you have. Holding his children's hands, playing guitar in a quiet room, sharing laughter with a friend. These are the moments he treasures now because he knows how fragile they are. And maybe that's the lesson in his fear, not to run from it, but to let it wake you up. To remind you that time isn't promised, and that the grains in your own hourglass are falling whether you notice or not. So yes, Johnny Depp is haunted by time. But so are we all. Every gray hair, every birthday candle, every old photo is a reminder. The real question is, what do we do with that fear? Do we let it paralyze us? Or do we let it push us to live more fully? Johnny's answer seems to be changing as he grows older. He no longer wants to chase the train. He wants to sit on the platform, watch it pass, and hold on to the people beside him. He wants to savor the seconds instead of wasting them. And maybe that's the message we're meant to take too. Because one day, whether you're a Hollywood icon or an ordinary soul, the hourglass will run out. And the only thing that will matter is not how many grains fell, but how you spent them. And it probably haunts you too. Be honest, how often do you think about the time that's already gone? About the dreams you didn't chase? The moments you didn't take? The years that seemed to vanish? That's not just Johnny's fear. It's universal. We all feel it. The awareness that every tick of the clock is one less. The haunting question of whether we're doing enough with the time we have left. And that's the truth of Johnny Depp's fears. They may look different on the surface. Clowns, identity, money, fatherhood. But at the heart, they're the same fears you and I carry. They're not Hollywood fears. They're human fears, so here's the real story. Behind the costumes, the makeup, the movie sets, Johnny Depp is just a man wrestling with the same anxieties that shape us all. He's made us laugh, he's made us cry, he's made us believe in strange and magical worlds. But when the spotlight fades, his deepest battles are the ones we know too well. The fear of not being enough, the fear of losing control, the fear of running out of time. And maybe that's why his story matters, because it reminds us that no matter how famous someone becomes, no matter how untouchable they look from the outside, they're still human inside. Johnny Depp, the man who's played fearless pirates and eccentric outsiders, is haunted by the same shadows that follow you and me. So let me ask you, which of Johnny Depp's fears do you feel in your own life? Is it the unease of not knowing what's real, like with the clowns? Is it the worry of losing yourself in all the roles you play for others? Is it the fear of financial collapse, of losing stability? Is it the fear of letting down the people you love most? Or is it that universal fear that time is slipping away too fast and you might not be able to catch up? Think about it. Because when we talk about Johnny's fears, we're really talking about our own. And sometimes saying it out loud, admitting it, sharing it, that's the first step to facing it. And that's why his story doesn't just belong to him. It belongs to all of us.